Listen, wait, do you know who is here? That's Kyle West. Break it down.
And that to me is still my favorite record to make because
Wow.
it was the steam just kept picking up on that record, and we got it done really quick. And just the mood of that record was just laid out perfectly on that record. And but this one day I was in the studio side, there was nowhere to record. I just kept playing it over and over. And Al walked in and said, "Oh, whoa, I love that." I said, "Okay, I can't forget that. Let me get home and lay it down the demo." And it just kept going from there. Then we were after he recorded the demo at Eddie F's house, we were in the studio the next day, and we're like, "Let's record this record." And then he brought in other people to help with your backgrounds, and it just the whole movie. I call it a movie. Just came together. It was just a perfect record.
We joke. Listen, we over the years, Kyle and I have joked about it, and like when I see him, like you have to say the whole word, the whole name, the entire
Your
name.
other
So you have to
does
call.
that, yes.
Yep.
Hey guys, I am excited to welcome Carl West back to the show. So gonna let him in and start our interview.
Hey, Namdi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It has been yeah. I didn't realize you guys changed your time. So
Yes.
we don't change until the end of the month, so it kind of threw me. Now I don't know how much of the legacy tour with Guy, New Edition, Tank, and Keith Sweat that are you going to see them when they come into to New York?
Yes, I ran into Johnny Gill recently, and he was just telling me he's gonna, they're gonna be coming through the city, and I said, you know what, I got to make sure I reach out, because I would love to see them,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you see I mean, especially when you think about when Al came out, he was on the tour with New Edition, Bobby Brown, and Al B. Shaw. Does that sort of bring back memories of wow, look at what?
Absolutely, Namdi, because in this industry, as they say, 5 years in the music industry is a long time. You can last for 5 years. And these guys, New Edition, 40 years, and
You're saying that that's just I mean because generally you think like Al should be in general should have been on the tour with them, and it would have been a real full circle stuff.
oh wow, yeah. I know he has other obligations and everything, and I know he would have loved to be a part of that again. So hey, but there's always going to be another one. Hopefully there'll be another one, and he'll be a part of it. But yeah, it just feels like 1988 all over again.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think one of the things would be interesting just to start off with, yeah, and a lot has been said about DJ Eddie F, and but because he's quite quiet, almost like yourself, semi-reclusive, so we barely hear from him. But I mean, what would you describe? How do you describe Eddie F? Because I just used to think he was just a DJ, and
Right.
you guys were the main people with Heavy D, and he was just the guy who just plays the records at the back.
No. Yeah, he was the technology guy. He, way back when he was a teenager, he was into DJing, but he was one of the first guys to get the drum machine back in the late 80s. He was the beat guy. He had all these musical ideas in his head. He might not have been able to play them, but he
Oh.
knew how to express them. He knew the sound. He was a part of that burgeoning sound of hip hop, of new jack. So when I came into the game, he kind of pulled me in because he knew I knew how to play. And what his role was with me was, all right, I'm classically trained. You can't do that. But what you can do is do what you do your orchestral, and then I'm going to help you kind of get it more R&B. It's a new R&B. So he was kind of like a mentor. And no one had to guide me because I knew I had all the music down, but I had to now make it relevant. And no one more than Teddy Riley and Eddie F. They were the sound at that time. So they just helped me. Said, no, don't go too far, and bring that orchestral and that R&B together, and that helped me create my sound.
But what do you mean don't go too far? Because I heard quite a bit about producers. And when I spoke with Rodney Jerkins, Darkchild, he said that when Puffy was doing the Things You Do remix with him, he was like, yeah, take simplified, even though you know how to play all this stuff, like we don't want it too much. What was it that you knew what we're planning to do? And they were like trying to get you to slow it down.
It wasn't aggressive enough. Like I can, I'm good with orchestral lines and all this and all these musical instruments, which is my part of my sound. But under that, it had to be aggressive. It had to be this new sound, which was coming in the late '80s. That new jack aggressiveness. What made me stand out from them was I have the new jack aggressiveness, but I added the orchestral layers and the sounds. They said, no, keep that. That's great because that sets you apart from what everyone else is doing. So the layers and the instruments that are kind of interchangeable and intertwining, that was where I set my sound apart from Eddie and Teddy Riley.
I think one of the things I noticed from, like, if I think about the Al's debut album, it's the drums that seem to have more of the influence, and we recognize the drums, and then everything comes secondary. Were you a drummer as well as
No, you know what? No, just drum programming was something new, and again, that's where Eddie F. really stepped in. And with Al also, because Al did a lot of the drum programming also. We learned that we kind of got that vibe from what Eddie F was doing. And then when Teddy became a part of it, he mastered it. He had his own style. So, so the drum part that was exactly what we kind of learned from Eddie F. Musically and with Al with the vocals, we had that. We just now had to help make it more aggressive. And that's the role that Teddy Riley and Eddie F played.
So, but I would assume that they were very different in their styles, Teddy and Eddie. But what would you say you got from Eddie, and then we can go on to what you got from Teddy?
Good question. The drum programming. He had every drum machine. Eddie F had every drum machine that came out, and he would come over to my house. When I lived in Mount Vernon, he would come over and bring his equipment. Whenever he would get a new piece of equipment, he would bring it over because I had the keyboard. And just watching him, watching his what he did and listening to his style, and because he did more rap, his drum beats were really aggressive, just boom, boom, boom. And but he just knew what he was doing. So the marriage of what he did and then what I did, which was more soft and R&B, it had a different kind of sound. So it wasn't a musical thing, but we didn't want it to be too musical. That's the key. Puffy used to say the same thing. Too musical. So that's what they didn't want me to do that. But do what you do because it's not what everyone else is doing. And the difference with Teddy was his drum, remember, he's a musician. He's a top-rated musician. So he didn't want his drums to be in the way of his music. his bass line. Everything had a space with him. So he wouldn't do the big rap type of drum unless it was the rap record, But for his R&B, what he did with Guy and Blackstreet and Keith Sweat, he had to give his drums space. So he had a feel. His drums had a different feel from everybody else. So learning between those two with the drum programming, hey, who else did you need? So that's what me and myself, and I'll be sure, we kind of leaned on their influence with the drum programming.
Did you ever think at those early days, though, that especially if Eddie's come to your house with and use with his drum machine, did you think we're going to go big time, we're going to go international, or was it just like a vocational stuff instead of being on the streets for do some music?
Namdi, no, you never think past the next day, and obviously it was a lot of fun. We knew we were on the precipice of something special because no one else was doing it. This sound wasn't out yet. It was something that was very New York. You could even say Mount Vernon, Westchester County. We had no idea where it was going to go, but we knew it was a lot of fun. And we were doing something. We were finding our talent. We didn't know what we could do. So this is now we're able to put it on tape. You could play it in your car for your boys and for your girls. So that's as far as it was getting. Now, Eddie already had his records out with Heavy. So yeah, he was already good to go. But all of us were trying to kind of follow suit. Says, oh, if that's Mount Vernon, and Eddie F, and even have they were always open to putting people on, especially that was from Mount Vernon. So they were a very positive influence also. But we had no idea it was going to become what it did. None at all.
As a producer or creator, is it that does the idea come, or do you have to, or does the music lyric come first and you say, well, let me try and find something there? Because I think hearing from Teddy, it was a lot of, he would have the beat or he would just come up with the sound. And Timmy back in those days would write to what, like, oh, Groove Me. Timmy had the whole Groove Me stuff and he just quickly wrote it. But for you and Al, what was it like when you were coming up with, say, Night and Day or Rescue Me?
Music always came first because I just I created so much material, very raw, get the idea and the vibe. I was learning how to put together a relevant sounding song, track. It wasn't just music. Now it had to have an identity. So I always had a lot of music. And then Al would key on something. I'll be sure would key on something. He would hear maybe 8 tracks and go, whoa, that one. And then he would just kind of lock right and he would get his headphones and he would go sit in a corner with that track, and no one would talk to him. And he's just sitting and he's got his pad and his thesaurus and his dictionary to make sure his lyrics make sense. And that's how we usually created a song.
Wow. I think that doesn't get credited enough how much of a songwriter he is, because we just, and I think we just see him as a singer, but we don't recognize that lyrically, was it the two of you writing the lyrics, or he did most of the lyrics and you did all the music, or how was it?
Exactly. He did all the lyrics and I did all the music.
Oh, okay. Did you venture into working on the lyrics as well, or?
No. I knew it wasn't my thing. Okay. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to write deep lyrics like the people that I was around. Terry Robinson and the girls, the group The Girls, and all these writers around me, Casey Haley and Jodeci. We had to teach him how to start writing because he was so talented. But I knew I didn't have that. My thing was I knew I could create that music and give it a vibe and an aura and make people want to listen, and just having talented people who knew what they were doing with songwriting to come put it on top. And I left it at that.
Oh, okay. I mean, and I think that was good idea. Oh, okay. We do have somebody joining in here, but I did hear that from oh, I
Yep,
did hear.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Can you see who's joined in?
No,
Oh, you can't see. Well,
I
it's your cousin.
Swipe,
get out of
swipe.
here. No, my God.
You got to swipe left to right.
You can move
Wait, I gotta do it.
yeah, on your phone on your no, you don't turn off your camera, but you can. There should be a way of
Like this.
it should be a way of you. Can you see?
I can see him now. I can see
You,
him.
you can see him.
Yes, but can he hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There you go. There you go, cuz. Love you,
Cousin,
cuz. How you
I love
doing?
you
How
as
you
well.
feeling?
You know what I'm doing well. Listen, wait, do you know who is here? That's Kyle West. Break it down.
Hey,
I think that's the first time I said it off the record to you. Oh man. Listen, we over the years, Kyle and I have joked about it. And like, when I see him, like you have to say the whole word, the whole name, the entire
your
name.
other
So you have to
does
call.
that. Yes.
Yep. How are you, sir?
All is good, man. It's good. I'm over here chopping it up with Namdi and talking about the old days, and just brings back really good memories. It really does.
Wow. Oh, let me
Yeah,
let me tell you something. Namdi, first of all, thank you for allowing me on your platform and being able to join one of my heroes growing up
absolutely.
and my
Same here.
one of my mentors, Kyle, my first cousin. Obviously, my dad and his mom are brothers and sisters,
Wow.
and I spent a majority of my existence, under the tutelage of Kyle and his older brother, which I call my brother, and I don't call them my cousins, which is really,
Right,
I don't know if they're strange or not, but I just call them my
right,
brothers.
right.
Um, and just did just a great job as it relates to discipline. So
Mm.
one of the things, I mean, and very specifically, without knowing that we were ignorant enough to think we could make a phone call and get a record deal at some point. You know, we
Right.
we were literally just doing what we love to do in the basement. So we didn't know that our vocation was our vacation at some
Mm.
point.
Right. Right.
And but I learned so much, outside of just the constant talks and spending so much time in what we call the basement. Um, and then you know, having to avoid getting in trouble because uh, my uncle Nick, which is Kyle's father, um, always make sure we had everything. We had this beautiful pool table and all this other stuff, but we didn't really play pool. What we did was we took the equipment and put everything on the pool
Oh,
table. So we ripped the pool.
Wow.
there
So
you
we had a
go.
we had a four tr- we had the four track and the organ and all of our little equipment, but we put it on. So we got in trouble because we ripped the cloth on the pool table. So
That's right. That's
oh
right.
goodness.
But
But what
it
what
all
what
paid off.
amazing! It all paid off. But imagine this. I want to tell people something that they may not know. So I remember now. Kyle and I come from a family of educators. So, Kyle's dad, I believe he was the dean of schools in New York City, one of the largest districts in the world.
Right. 40 years.
And my aunt Laura, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
um, education was first, and it was truly, just all about education, following through, consistency, and discipline. And so, with that being said, no matter what we were concocting in the basement musically, without knowing that Kyle West was actually Stevie Wonder reincarnated. I mean, no, brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Appreciate
Without even, and I don't even look at it as having formal training. Now, Kyle's father, this is something that people may not know. Kyle's father knew music theory in several languages.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yeah. See, listen. I know I went to sleep over the summer, but I remember everything. um,
Yes, he did.
but
He's able to
but
teach. That's right.
yeah. But that being said, Kyle, in the middle of us, working on some projects, and at this point, no record deal, nothing of that nature, and not even really imagining to do so. Kyle uh, went off to school to LSU to New Orleans, and me knowing the sanctity of education in our family, I happened to be in Eddie F's basement one day, and we were working on some songs, and so I finally got a little breakthrough as it relates to maybe getting us some sort of deal situation or what have you, or production deal or what have you. So imagine going to the wall phone, picking up that little wall phone that's connected to the cord and the wire, and having to call the dorm to find Kyle. So I had to wait for three people to, find Kyle because but he was probably in the library studying or maybe with the LSU football team because he also played cornerback. So
Oh.
people don't realize that Kyle doesn't listen. I don't know how you got Kyle to do this because Kyle is the most humble, quiet. He
Hey,
doesn't talk anything about. He's about putting the work in, and that
it's all about
and he and he let and he let cousin Al just do the dog and pony show, and he was like, he's like, I'm a supplier with the fuel. You go out there and make it happen. You do what you got to do. So it's a perfect yin and yang.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
and
sell
I'm
it.
just
I'll make it. You
that
sell it. There you
yeah, no, so it was a great, just great, and it just so happens that we are family, and it made it so much easier. I find myself over the years, and I'll call them in every moment. I'll be on television, whether it's Fox News or be on something, and I'll maybe watch it back, and and I look at myself and say, "That's Kyle. That's not even me." Like, remember, I would call you say, "Yo, did you just do the interview, or was that me?" So, so because I find myself speaking like Kyle, so it's just so many. And I'm gonna give one more tidbit because I got to save all this for the book.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I give one more tidbit. So, Kyle, Kyle's middle name is Albert.
Oh, like yourself.
So my father's name was Albert. Our grandfather's name was Albert.
Oh.
Kyle
Right.
was supposed to be named Albert, but
Albert.
it's his
Right.
middle name,
Hey,
right?
see, hey, I still consider myself in that lineage of all the Alberts. Anyway,
Yep.
absolutely.
It was
It's
Kyle,
all
Kyle,
of them.
but Kyle has a rock star name, Kyle West, Kyle Albert West.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's because of
You can
you.
picture him coming
That's
in
how
on
it
a
was
horse or a
done.
helicopter or something.
But he
That's
was,
because of
but
you.
Kyle
Thank
was
you.
sharing how Eddie F tried to teach you guys how to produce and not be too musical, but to really learn the drum machine and craft your sound. And he was also talking about how Teddy also influenced because he was saying, yeah, he was a musician, but they were trying to change
Yeah,
how the
and
sound.
I got it from the greatest of all worlds. Learning from Kyle, just growing up, our grandparents who lived on 151st and Bradhurst Avenue, not necessarily considered the Bronx, but I mean not considered Harlem, but up, Manhattan, right next to the world famous Polo Grounds.
That's
So
right.
as children, we would, our grandfather would give us some change on off the nook, off the table.
There
We
you
call it the
go.
nook, and we go around to what was the little candy shop on Eighth Avenue that we used to walk around
Wow.
to?
I don't remember the name. Pete's. Is an
Miss Miss
old,
Pete's,
old.
Mr. Pete's or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
remember.
but
We got to go get
yeah, but
cigarettes too. We'd have to go get
we, got,
cigarettes.
we have to go pick up some cigarettes. You got to go
You
pick up,
know,
so
for the
whatever,
grandfather.
and,
Yeah.
and and then they get a little change, and our grandfather also something very unique about, and this is I think where Kyle got it as well, because my father also played piano, but our grandfather,
Right.
his hands were so large that he would play 12-finger chords.
Yeah.
So all of
Wow.
that dissonant, Kyle gets a lot of that that dissonant sound, because when you're hearing it, he was able to duplicate it without necessarily having formal training, because he was hearing the black notes and the black keys and so he was able to do it without knowing what he was doing at that point. And it was
Yeah.
amazing just to see. I said, how did you duplicate that sound? Am I right? Do I
Yeah.
remember
Oh,
stuff?
yeah.
I know I'm old now, but so
Absolutely.
it's just amazing watching.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
No, just interestingly enough, our grandfather's piano was rarely tuned. So a lot of when he would play when we were kids, he played it on an untuned piano. So it was very dark. The chords were very dark, and we were used to him, and he would play dark chords. And we kind of translated that into what we would wind up doing.
And our
But learning
first demos,
it
right?
from there, absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Our first demos, I used to call. So Kyle would work on something, and I would come after school after football practice and come over. And Kyle, so I would go knock on the door, go into
Oh,
the basement, and Kyle had the lights low, and Kyle had this thing. He would have this little black and white TV up in the corner, and he'd be watching the Honeymooners.
oh boy, you giving it all away now.
Oh man,
I'll be
no.
watching TV.
So
Yes, yes.
we would have the TV on, and he'd be just playing away, and it sounded like we were in a haunted house. So I would call his chords, his progressions, the haunted house. So that was the nickname for Kyle's chord progression. And then he had something so amazing that he would do, because when he would listen to music, we wouldn't listen to music in the regular key that it may be in, whether it's A flat minor, what have you.
Right. You slow it down.
Right.
Yes.
So we would go to the record player in the living room where I would rehearse. He had a big mirror in Aunt Laura's living room, and I would do these dance steps, copying obviously, Michael Jackson and so on and so forth. So no, they can come. Hey guys, I'm going to cut it short because I'm
Okay.
actually in the hospital with mom.
Oh,
So I'm here with Aunt Cassandra. So I'm in the hospital here with mom, and the doctors just came in. So, but I wanted to chime in and tell you,
Thank you.
Kyle, I love you. I appreciate you, and blessings to over the pond and everyone there in the UK. Give them my best, and I'll
Absolutely.
see you guys very, very soon. And I
Okay.
can't wait to come on and speak with you. I love you guys very much.
Love you.
Blessings to everyone.
Please give my love to Aunt Cassandra too. Please give
I will
myself.
tell Aunt Cassandra she's ready. Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
take care.
Catch you later.
Okay.
Love you
thanks,
guys.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. Here, say mom, say hi.
Hi, Aunt Cassandra. Love you. Much love to you.
Okay. Okay, doke.
All right. Catch you later.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
thanks. Wow. Okay. So, so when we were supposed to meet up on Thursday, he told me that he was going to join in. So, but when you didn't show up, so I had to tell him that. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Nice surprise. Yes.
yeah. So,
Very cool. Very
but
cool.
yeah, then when we were on, I quickly sent him and said, "Look, okay, we finally made it on." So, because Sunday I told him that we'd come back on Sunday, but then yeah, so but I didn't realize he was still in the hospital because he did this with his mom. So that's amazing that he did take time to. I was just saying that yeah, he did join in Thursday, and I said no, the interview wasn't going on, and so but it's good that he was able to surprise you.
That's a great surprise, and to have us both on at the same time is perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. He's a good man. He's a good man.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that he did, he has, we haven't had an interview yet. I mean, this is the closest we had, but he's been he supports both my YouTube and IG because he notices that I focus on the positive. I'm not looking to so I'm always focused on celebrating. So he's been a big fan of supporter of that. But it's very interesting that you didn't mention that you were actually into playing sports. Were you actually playing for the?
I didn't get. You know what? No, I didn't play. I mean, I played in high school, and then I went down to LSU to, was hopefully to walk on, be a part of the team, and I just wasn't on that level as an athlete.
Okay.
I wasn't on that athlete. Well, I wasn't on that level, but that was my dream. And then this came about same year, like a year later. So I felt, hey, it all worked out perfectly. Yes.
So were you guys, even though I mean, you're first cousins, but were you guys stuck close growing up as well as kids? Or could you mention that there's an age difference?
Yeah, we were because we lived in the same house.
Oh,
It just was easier to go to the school that we went to. It was easier for Al to live with my family. So my
okay.
parents said, you know what, let him come stay here. So he did his high school years living with us. So that's
Oh,
why it was more than a cousin relationship. He became that younger brother. You know, that's why
okay.
he always calls say brother, brother. But
Yeah.
yeah, we were that close before then too. And then that's what made it so easy for him to come live with us in high school.
Oh, okay. Now I heard him say that he wanted to be a rapper, not a singer.
That is true. Yeah, because he hung with Eddie, and he saw
Uh,
what Heavy was doing, and he just thought that, and he could write raps pretty good. So he said,
mm,
let's do that. Then that's when I came and I was already at school. So he said, hey, we should do this. Heavy's got a record out. And I said, I don't know nothing about rap. I said, but I know how to play music. So he goes, oh, do something. So that's what got him to say, let's focus and do our thing and let's do the music,
mm.
and he's obviously always kept rap close to him, but that's when he developed his songwriting and his singing. When I left school, it was all no more rapping. It was all about the trying to become an R&B artist.
Yeah, because we were talking about the influence of Teddy, and I know that he was a keyboard player. But the one thing you mentioned about Eddie and probably Teddy is that this thing called an MPC, the programming is because I used to assume that if you're producing, you're playing the music on the keyboards and someone's playing the drums, and then and you just record it and patch it together. But it seems it's all in a way artificial music.
It's studio generated. I'll say it that way because look, it still takes time. It takes time and talent to program. It's just everyone has a drum machine nowadays, but you have to have the talent and the ear to know what you're doing. I remember Teddy said that years ago. People like to emulate his drum sounds, but it's like, okay, well, you got the sounds, now you got a program, and that you can't do. So even though we're more studio musicians, um, you gotta have the talent to set you apart from what everyone else is doing.
So what do you think sets you apart then from what others were doing, especially during those times?
Uh, I my spin on R&B, because it's bringing, with hip hop, with New Jack, you're bringing in the elements of R&B, but I also had an element of orchestral classical music. So that's where I
Mm.
stood apart. So I would have orchestra of strings and reed and guitar going to where most hip hop or New Jack records had maybe 3 or 4 instruments. I'd have maybe 8, and then I'd have them intertwined. And then got to give a shout out to Roy Shamir, who was the our engineer on that first album. You got to know how to mix those sounds together. So we had a very plush R&B sound on top of these New Jack beats.
The and I think that's the one thing that because I know there was a lot of copycat of what Teddy was doing, his type of New Jack, because became so big that everyone tried to do it. Um, when I mentioned Off and Our Own Girl and Rescue Me and Night and Day becoming hits in Nigeria, it was. Yeah, and I there's a part of me that knows that look, the Albie Shaw's looks, it was, he was like a model, so he had the looks, when a denim jeans back in those
Right.
days, with the looks, but the music was different, and as I said, it was the sort of the drum programming, um was different as well. Who else was sounding? Who do you think had this? Because you were different from Teddy. I would know the difference with it. So you went because Teddy uses his piano a lot when he's with his drums, and
Yeah.
you could feel his music in his drums.
Yes.
I think maybe Dallas Austin sometimes, or Spider-Man and Freeze, were they?
Freeze, yes, Freeze. He was definitely in that direction too, especially with Off on Your Own. I could tell that record definitely influenced him. I remember I met him once, and
Okay.
he definitely mentioned Off on Your Own was definitely up his alley. But I was a student of Jimmy and Terry, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. So their R&B, because they were aggressive too, but they were able to put their style of R&B and then give it even, with the string lines and everything that they did. I kind of went in that direction. But after me, I mean, you had producers like Dave Hall
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those guys. They could, and he was under Eddie. Eddie, so you got to your music, you know. Oh, there we go. You got
Yeah.
to have the musical chops to be able to do that. Now you
Yeah.
can't just throw some instruments on top of the beat and be able to compete. That wasn't going to make it.
Yeah. No, what I think, no, I think with the people that came after you guys, I think the one thing that we noticed was that some of the drums, because I would say that Spider-Man Freeze, his drums seem to have emulated, copied. I won't say copy, but it was different from a Teddy's. So your drums were different. Um, Probably I can think of that Dallas Austin when he did the ABC and those types
Yeah,
of it sounds because if they use the same type of drums. I won't say sample, but it's the sound because Teddy
yes.
Teddy used a very different type of sound. So that I could hear sonically was different. Um, were you aware of when others were not copying your style or following in the pattern that you were doing? How did it feel like in those days?
You know what, Nandi? I was flattered. I it's definitely a level of flattery when someone thinks what you do is on a level that they'd want to copy. Not copy, but just they're learning from it. Because all the producers that I've met over the years have always said, "Yo, man, I studied your work."
Mhm.
That's not stealing, and that's saying, well, I'm glad I was good enough,
Yeah.
for you to feel that way. So I've always had love, the Devontae Swings and those guys. Those guys, I've always had love with other producers. They've always given me respect, and I've always given them respect. So I always felt good, you know.
Yeah. The- I wanted to see if it's possible just to go through the tracks of the in effect mode. Um,
Sure.
because the first track on the album, Night and Day, um, was and that was the one that Teddy said the Michael Jackson track.
Yes. Yes. So,
How did that particular song come about?
I had the track one night. Can't tell you why. I had that track laying, and again, I had a whole bunch of other tracks, and Al locked into that one day. I wasn't even here. I don't. We didn't do it together, but he heard that track and he had it, and he came up with the hook. From what I remember, he had the hook first, before the verses, before anything. And I don't know when he made it. I don't know when he recorded the demo. But by the time we met Teddy, maybe two months later, Teddy already heard it. And I'm like, I never heard it, put the vocals on it. So it was that's how it came about. And then everyone felt really special about this record. Our first two demos that we had were Off on Your Own and Night and Day. So
Hmm.
everyone heard Off on Your Own, and because it was more fast and dancey. But I was surprised that people were even able to understand what Night and Day was going to be before we did it. But a lot of people said that's the record, that's the style, that's the Al B. Sure sound, and they were right. They were right.
So just for those of us who aren't music producers and stuff, when you said you had the track, what did you mean by that? Did you already have the soul Night and Day song but just no lyrics, or what was it that? Oh,
That's correct. Yes, I had the music for it with no lyrics, and it was a demo, so it did not sound like the record.
yeah, but
You know,
the whole dun, 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 the whole
yeah,
everything.
I had all that was already there. And the equipment was bad and the recording was bad, but the idea was there already. And he
Ah,
locked right in on it, among other tracks. And he was like, hey. So when the next time I heard the record, Teddy already heard it when we went to his house to work. He's like, no, that's the song that you guys got to do. So even he knew there was something special about that
mm,
record.
okay.
But when we met with Andre Harrell, God rest his soul, he knew that record was going to be the vibe, the aura
Mm,
of Al B. Shore more than any other record. That's the direction. That's your identity. That record, because it had the smoothness, but
mm,
still R&B, but the new vibe. So Andre immediately was able to put that together with the Al B. Shore identity.
wow. And then he wrote the song and the lyrics, and he changed the night to Nite.
Yes, yeah. Once when we now this was the good thing. When we demoed at my parents' house, we did all our demos at my parents' house. But when we went into the studio, that's a pressure. I think a lot of producers would tell you that once you get into the studio, it's another level of pressure. And Al was great at being able to create in the studio. I was never that comfortable also. I love to be in my demo studio. But when you feel, you see all the gadgets in the studio, that's another level of pressure.
Okay.
But Al was great at it. He knew he could pull from people in the studio. He would call other writers and vocalists on the phone and go, hey, I need an idea here. So he was really good in the studio. That's something that a lot of artists and producers are not good at, but he was great at.
Yeah, and I do wonder because you look at images of a studio and you see this massive board with all these buttons, and I used to say, how do you go? When I asked Dalvin, Mr. Dalvin from Jodeci, I said, how is it like going into the studio and do Cena? And he says, well, because their dad was used to record so many albums, so they were used to that. And I thought, but others, when they do go in, it's like that's a whole different thing, hearing your voice back and stuff, and it can be very intimidating. But you said for you, it was more intimidating than it was for your cousin, for Al.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He was great at it. I mean, even when Al could tell you that when I had to do music sessions in the studio, and Al had a big entourage. So he always had a lot. I'm like, yo, they got to leave because I need to concentrate. I need to make that space smaller. That's the way I was able to create. So I would ask him nicely, yo, and he would look at them and go, and just like y'all got to go. So he always made sure I was comfortable in the studio. Yes.
Okay. The second song was "Ooh, This Love Is So." How did that track come about?
That may be one of my favorite records ever, like to
Wow.
make. We were actually mixing night and day. And the mix is a long process.
Oh.
So Al and the engineer, they're doing their thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of listening, but there was always a piano in the studio. So in my downtime, I would go into the booth and play the piano. And one time Al took his little break and came in and he heard what I was playing. He said, that is incredible. That's beautiful. Because we need to demo that. So like the next day I went and demoed it, at the house. And he said, I'm feeling that. Then we gave it some, nice sound to it. I think we recorded it at Eddie's house again. And I left early. I did the music and I left. And late, it had to be like 4 o'clock in the morning. He comes knocking, him and Eddie come knocking on my door. Like, listen to this. And he created this incredible vocal. Just incredible. his vibe, his lyrics, his melody, he nailed it. And then we brought in other background singers. He envisioned the whole song,
Wow.
you know, and that to me is still my favorite record to make because
Wow.
the steam just kept picking up on that record, and we got it done really quick. And just the mood of that record was just laid out perfectly on that record.
So when you were just playing it, was it that you heard the sound in your head and you were just playing what you were hearing?
Yeah, I just because I can literally sit down at the piano and write a song. You know, I know where I want to go chord wise, and if I lock in on something I really like, I'll go, okay, that's it. Now build on that. But this one day I was in the studio, so there was nowhere to record. I just kept playing it over and over. And Al walked in and said, oh, "Whoa, I love that." I said, "Okay, I can't forget that. Let me get home and lay it down the demo." And it just kept going from there. Then after he recorded the demo at Eddie F's house, we were in the studio the next day, and we're like,
Wow.
"Let's record this record." And then he brought in other people to help with your backgrounds, and the whole movie. I call it a movie. Just came together. It was just a perfect record.
Wow. Okay. It's a pity it didn't come out as a single.
I know. Yes.
Now the "Killing Me Softly" remake. Whose idea was it to do that and add it to the?
Wow. Andre Harrell. It was
Oh.
Andre Harrell's idea to try it. I remember he wanted us to try um a record called Natural High that came out
Oh
in
yeah,
19.
yeah. I know After Seven did it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted us to try that first, and then he brought up the idea. Let's try, Killing Me Softly. And I remember going to Roberta Flack's house to ask for permission. It was
What?
me, it was myself, Andre, and Al. And she wanted to make sure this wasn't like a clearance. It was like, you got to come to my house and meet me first
But she
to
didn't
get
write it.
permission. But you know what? But she was the one that obviously made it famous. And yeah, we had to like get permission, to
Okay.
bless.
Oh, the
Because
blessing.
Al was brand new. It was like, who's this guy?
Okay.
And Andre, he talked his talk and made everybody feel comfortable. Then when we demoed it, and it was not easy to demo for some reason. And then that record, Al did the drums, and he had the drums going all over the place. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And when we got it in the studio, and the drums, the crazy drums, that represents 1988.
Mm.
That track, those drums represented what was going on better than anything else. And then I just pretty much played the song over the top and, added some little instruments here. And then again, he nailed it with his performance,
Mm.
and again, the record came together real quick again.
So there was no hesitation from you guys to do a cover. Did they you just wanted just to say, let's just do our own stuff? Or was it stuff that you just felt Andre said that you need at least to have a recognizable song on the album?
Yes, he did. He did. Andre wanted us to. He would always ask us, "What would be your idea to do one?"
Okay.
Okay, there we go. So what I was saying was that Andre taught us that remakes should be reinventing a song to another market.
Okay.
So he felt that if this is an R&B young boy, Killing Me Softly, which was a pop record, reinvent that, repackage it for another market, for a young R&B market. So
Mm.
that's what felt that, oh, that's a great idea. Then that would be the perfect record,
Okay.
and make it yourself. And that's what we did.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was different. And I don't think I'd heard the original until after that. So, and I guess that's the thing that you normally get is the newer generation not being familiar with the original. It's like I didn't
Exactly.
I didn't when Shantae Savage did "I Will Survive." I had no idea it was the same Gloria Gaynor one because it was so different that I had
Right,
no idea it was the same song.
right, right.
Naturally Mine.
Wow. I don't remember when I created the music, but I remember. No, you know what? That might have been the second song we did in the studio. And we went to Chung King, and I just played. It was Teddy couldn't make that session that day, so we had the DX7, and we said, yo, let's just we had the 808 drum machine, so let's just start to do Naturally Mine, and we did the music, and then one day at Andre's office in Brooklyn on Warren Street, everybody was playing it, and it was like 20 people in the office. And they would come to me. They didn't even. Oh, I heard that record. Oh, that record is great. And I'm like, what record? It's not finished yet. But that's how we knew. Okay, it's coming together. And then Teddy came and he added a little guitar to it and everything.
Wow.
And yeah, he played the guitar. And again, the
Oh
performance,
yeah.
Al's performance on that record was sultry and beautiful, and it all came together.
Well, when Teddy's adding the guitar, is he actually playing the guitar? Or is he programming a guitar?
That was a program. That was a good guitar program. Yes,
Okay, but how
but
do you program a guitar when you could just use? Because Jimmy says he uses his keyboards to do the guitar sounds. So the Teddy has to use a different type of programming.
yes, yeah. I mean, because there's a whole bunch of different types of guitar,
Okay.
and I guess maybe an electric guitar at that time maybe might have overpowered the track or didn't
Mm.
match. So we had to find the right program. And then even what I give a lot of credit to Teddy was he was able to fit in between the track. Like you just can't play on top. He was able to get in the middle of there and give it an extra rhythm that really felt good. That stands out still today.
Wow, my goodness!
Mhm.
I guess that these are things that we didn't. In fact, when Terry Lewis did an update a few years ago, and he was talking about how Teddy was one of the most technical producers out there. The way he programs was almost above the rest when it comes to beat. And I think as I said, I didn't realize that. I always assumed producers were musicians, and then somebody else the engineer just records what they're doing. But it's like, no, you're almost like computer programmers.
That's right. Teddy, I remember one thing Teddy helped me understand was again, you can't just play on top of stuff. You have to find the space. And I understood that after a while, that you got to find your spaces in a song. Just can't play on top of everything. You have just a jumble of mess. So
Mm.
you got to find. And Teddy was really, really good at that.
Oh, goodness. Off on your own, girl.
Ah, fun. That was a lot of fun. That was an Eddie inspired beat. Um, he had his drum machine, and he was nice enough to let us sample some drum beats. And you know what? There were a lot of different versions of that record
Oh,
before we nailed it. Yeah, there was it was different versions of it. Teddy did a version. He made it real street. It was beautiful. It was hard. But yeah, I wish to this day that I had it. But we locked into the more R&B pop vibe. Um, Al's storytelling was great on it. What else did I remember about it? But that was pretty much it. That was one of the first demos we had. Was Off on Your Own.
but then you're the one who did the music. Then Al says, "Oh, let me write to that."
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
do you have the did you do the beats of it and
No, because what you do is again, we did a version in the studio, and then we ran up doing two more versions. So I think the last version, just some records just you keep feeling like, oh, there's something missing. We got to add something. There's certain records like Naturally Mine off on you, and Uda Silver, so they come together real quick.
Okay.
This one took a little bit of time. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Everyone would probably say, "Man, you." It's almost like a Picasso saying, "Yeah, I had a painting that I just didn't. I finished it, but I just threw it away." And like, no, it could be the classic now. But Teddy does a
Yeah.
version of "Off Her Own Girl," but we just don't have a version. We don't have it anymore.
Right. Right.
Oh, oh goodness.
There's a master tape sitting somewhere that has it. One day it'll hopefully pop up.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Did you get involved with "If I'm Not Your Lover"?
No, just the remix. But the original version, no, that was definitely an Al and Teddy and Timmy thing. You know, they kind of got together and did. I had no. Again,
Oh,
when they did the remix with Slick Rick on it, then I did some bass line and some stuff on there. Yes.
oh, so the original one didn't. There was no slick. But then, what happens when Teddy and Al and Timmy were doing it? Are you? What are you doing? Are you just off to the side, or part
Yeah.
of?
Yes, I was doing something else. Yes.
Okay.
That's their session. That's their song, and I'm doing something else at the time. Yes.
Okay. So then, even when he did, oh goodness, I can't remember the other
You
song
can
that
call me crazy.
"You Can Call Me Crazy." So were you
Yeah.
around when that was being recorded?
No, I was not.
Okay. 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 Just a Taste of Lovin'.
The last song we did, um, I remember, yeah, I did the track. You know, I did the beat, yeah, did the beat at home, came in, laid it down. Um, we actually brought in another vocalist, Terry Robinson, to help with some melodies and stuff. It was the last song we did. We were definitely up against time. I enjoyed making that record. It was fun. Um, but that's all I remember about that record. But
Okay.
I love it. I love that record.
Now the last one's hard to pronounce. Is it Noti Yedi? Noti Yedai?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Night and Day in
Oh, the
Spanish.
Spanish one. Okay.
Yes.
But
Yes.
why a Spanish version? Did you guys speak Spanish in Mount Vernon or?
No, here in New York City, for New York radio. This was Andre's idea too, and Warner Brothers to a point, but it was Andre. He knew that if we had a Spanish version with the sultriness and sexiness and the message in the record, that even though it's in Spanish, it would still get played on the radio and on the English, stations. And it did. It actually got a few plays here and there.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. With Private Times and the whole nine, the Hotel California, was that something that's was it going back to the form that we need to cover an old track, or was this something whose idea was it to bring that up?
That was Al's idea. Yes. We I loved reinventing songs, so I
Mm,
loved to do remakes. And but it was Al who said this song. There's something about it that I really like. Said, can you do that over? And I created the music, and he goes, boom, I can do that. And vocally, it was in the range that he liked. So everything kind of worked in our
mm.
favor for that record.
Now, when he did touch you with Devontae, were you involved at all?
I did I did the bass line. Um, no, 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 not on that record. No, I did not have anything to do with that record. No. But
Okay.
wait, I did the bass line. I did the bass line on that record. Yeah.
When you call it bass line, is it playing bass or what is the bass line?
I did it's a keyboard bass. I didn't play the real bass,
Okay.
but I gave it the little bottom. I helped it out a little bit, simplified out the bottom a little bit.
Okay. And then we have So Special.
Wow. He wrote that record in high school. He wrote that record in high school, and he was in a class, and um, he actually did a little video for it. Yeah, that record he did in high school. And it was a record that it was old, but we knew we had the melody and everything about it was special. We said we gotta let's see if we could save that record and include it. And it came out pretty good. But he had that record before like Night and Day. He wrote it in high school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, because you mentioned that you had about the eight tracks on the first album. Were there other ones that couldn't make it just because they wanted?
No, no. Once we had the original four, which was Night and Day, Off on Your Own, Udis Love Is So, and Rescue Me. Those were the four that we had locked in. Now it was just a matter of finishing. And Al was already hot because his video came out.
He said he was so hot because his video had come out.
Yeah, he had the video out, so Al was hot. He was already working, getting shows, working in London. He did his first shows in London.
Yeah.
So we had to finish, and Warner Brothers was like, "This album we need to make this an album and get this thing out." So that's why we needed to pull in, Teddy, because Teddy was already doing Guy. He already had out Keith Sweat. So we were like, come on, give us 2 songs. We got to finish this thing, but we had other songs that we didn't have any confidence in. But by the second album, Getting Back to So Special, by the second album, we said, "Yo, let's pull these records out.
Okay.
Let's see if we could make them good again." And that was one of them. So Special.
I Want to Know.
I Want to Know is a nice record. I don't remember much about it. Just it was a good record.
And you did admit earlier that I was very busy and that you didn't have the sort of time to really perfect the album, and so it could have had an impact on the quality of what you guys were producing.
I do believe that. Yeah, everybody. Andre Harrell, his company is now booming. Al is across the world. I'm working on the projects. We didn't have that time and that passion on the second album that we had on the first. There's no doubt about that. Looking back, yeah.
Now did you get to meet Diana Ross on No Matter What You Do?
Absolutely.
What was that like? What was that like?
Let me tell you, Namdi. Everybody, we all know Miss Ross is the original diva.
Yeah.
She was so sweet. She was the nicest lady. That her smile was gleaming. She was so pleasant to work with. Miss Ross was the ultimate pro. That was an experience. It was only 2 sessions. She made sure we had everything we needed, recording wise, all the parts. She was a pleasant person to work with.
Weren't you intimidated? This is Diana Ross of the Supremes. Weren't you intimidated trying to record her?
Namdi, I definitely was. Definitely was. She was in the studio before we were.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we walked in and she was already there. Like, all right, we got to work.
Were you guys late or was she early?
We were late. We were late. Ooh. 30 minutes, maybe 30. But she was there, shoes off. And even the studio, which is a great studio, they made it look like an apartment. They had a rug and they had a sofa in the vocal booth. They made her feel like she was at home,
Wow.
But they made her feel like the legend that she was. So, and she didn't try to make us. She didn't obviously felt I'm not going to try to intimidate these young men because then we're not going to get the best work done. So she was so professional. It was such a thrill to work with her.
But how did that come about? Whose idea was it to call Diana Ross to do? Was it Quincy Jones or who? What?
Wow, that you know what? That no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I'm. She might not have been the first choice that Al wanted to do the duet with, but I think she was maybe the second choice. I don't remember the first one. So, but yeah, she was. It was between Andre and Benny Medina over at Warner Brothers, and they threw out some options and for that second choice, and um, Al was like, yeah, I would be great to work with a living legend.
Mm. Oh goodness! But then, when you have two sessions, is it just like 2 days to have to record, or?
Yes, exactly. Because we weren't gonna be in the studio for 8 hours with Miss Ross. So, we did a very quick, 4 hours the first session. Then the second one, we just made sure we fixed a few things here and there, and another 4 hours, and we had what we needed.
So this
That's
is
it.
pre-auto tune, so you didn't have you had to really get the notes.
Yes. And what I loved about working with Ms. Ross was she made sure, like, hey guys, because look, once I walk out the door, I'm coming back, I got things to do. I live across the pond, so she made sure we had everything recorded that we needed, all the parts. And she was just so pleasant, always had a smile. So all the the diva word thrown about her, we did not see it that day. She was great.
Yeah. So the second date, were you guys early or on time?
Yes, we were there before she was that day. We
So
learned our lesson.
you learned
Yes.
your lesson. So I remember interviewing Daryl Simmons, part of LA and Babyface, and
Sure.
he said that he had to record Aretha Franklin, and he just didn't know. I mean, he was there just like, well, how am I telling you what to do? You or Aretha Franklin? He's like, and I've heard other people talk the same way. Even Jermaine Dupri said about the same things. That how do you record somebody who's been there and doing that before you were born and has sold millions of records? How do you tell them what to do? And I guess they're like, look, I've done it with somebody else, but this is your song.
No, let me tell you, Namdi. Al and myself, we worked with the late great Rick James. You
Oh,
know,
you kidding me?
yeah, he Warner Brothers sent him down to the city to work with us, and I hate to say it again, but he was there before we were. But
That was just a habit. Okay.
and I'm like, oh my god, he's already here. And another, just Mr. James was just the best. He wanted to make sure that he knew the song. So he looked at me because I was there before Al, and he said, "Go over, just go over the song with me." And he's doing the notes, and I'm, hey, do this over, and I'm like, oh my god, wait, I just told Rick James what to do, and I caught myself quick, but it's like, but that's what these guys are professionals. They're legends. Look, you're in charge right now. So you better take charge. And that's what I loved about Rick. Rick James was saying, no, you're in charge. You got to tell me what to do. So all that other stuff, no, we'll worry about all that other stuff later. You're in charge. You're the producer.
Wow.
So true, a name like Aretha Franklin, as I said, Mr. Aaron Ross, they know what they're there for. Get the job done. This don't be. I'm not going to intimidate you. Get the job done, and that's exactly how Mr. Aaron Ross was.
So what about Al Green? Was there any change in that sort of he's a living legend? Like I wouldn't know what to tell him to do.
Absolutely. He kind of had an idea for the song already, and they could see where the music was going and the drums and Al said, oh, sing these I'm gonna do these backgrounds. Now everybody in the room was like in awe. I mean, not in awe, but they were like, oh, this is gonna going to be really different. This is a new sound, and we nailed it. We knew from the beginning that this was going to be a good record. And let me tell you now, let me tell you how much juice Mr. Reverend Al Green has. We did that record on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. 3 or 4 days later, Reverend Al Green was performing it on a late night TV show here in America, across the country. So that's how quick. There's no like, oh, well, who is this guy? No, he went from studio to national TV with that record in like 3 days.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Oh my goodness. Oh, goodness.
So, those living legends are living legends for a reason, is my
yeah. My goodness. Okay, we're going back here. The Shades of Grey.
Shades of Grey was something, it was kind of a demo that we got rolling on, and it was cool, but it was a demo that we said let's put it on there. I wouldn't say it was one of the stronger songs, but yeah, it was cool. It was nice.
Yeah, so it's okay. So yeah, it's okay. And then Private Times.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That was the first song we recorded for the second album. So Al was on tour in LA and I was here in New York, and they needed that record for a movie soundtrack.
Oh.
So I had to rush out to LA to beat the deadline. And we recorded that song. We had, other people singing backgrounds. Even Christopher Williams sang background on one of the tracks. And we didn't make the movie. We didn't make the deadline for the movie, but we knew we had a strong song. So we kept working on it, went through maybe 2 or 3 other versions, and what came on, made sure it got on the album.
But what movie was it?
Wow, you know what? It was Lean on Me.
Oh.
It was a Warner Brothers movie, Lean on Me, starring Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. In fact, I interviewed Rift because they were the boys who sang it. Okay, in the bathroom. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah,
oh.
we didn't catch the deadline. Unfortunately, it would have been great to be on that soundtrack of that movie, but we knew we had a hit record, so we held on to it. Absolutely.
Now, Misunderstanding was the big track that we got to Nigeria, and this is where Al's dancing and everything. But it was Eddie, Novell, and Al that did the production. What when they're doing that, do you just say, "I'll give you guys space," or you don't get involved, or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just because I was working on other projects also at that time. So this was just an idea. Al and Eddie they were really close back then too. So that was inevitable that, Eddie had a track and said, "Yo, Al, check this out." And I was like, "Yo, that's pretty good." And then Al does his thing. So we were always in the same circle,
Okay.
but usually what Al would do is, because he didn't like everyone hearing what we're working on. So that's why he liked me and him to just kind of isolate. And then when it's time to produce records, we would produce them to Andre and then to Benny Medina. But that's why he kind of wanted to keep his circle small. He didn't want leaks here and there. So, but Eddie was always around. So Eddie was obviously very busy. Now that he got his company was starting up, and he's still doing heavy D stuff. So this was just a track that Eddie said, "Hey man, this would be good for you guys," So that's how that came about.
Channel J, because you also had Chubb Rock as part of that, and yeah.
Fun record. That was something that was Al's alter ego record. He wanted to do something that wasn't necessarily very Al B. Sure, even the style of the record. We wanted to do something a little different just to try it, And once we got Chubb on it, it was like, we can't exclude this. Even though it's not a real big Al B. Sure record, it was fun and it came out pretty good. So let's just include it,
Yeah. Did you guys do any stuff with Chubb?
No, I did not. I did not. Al might have, because when I remember Al made a little rap album for himself. Chubb might have been involved. I'm not sure.
Did it get released?
No, it did not. It did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just something to have. And I know because Chubb does production too, so
Ah.
my Chubb might have did some work on that. Yeah.
Well, he did rap on a track for Tevin Campbell that you guys did.
Yes. Yes. Because Chubb was always, again, he was another one that we felt was cool people, very talented, nice
Mm.
guy, and always willing to help wherever he could. So, Al pulled him in, and boom, he was right there. Made sure he was right there for us.
Okay, so Had Enough. So that was Al and Devante. You didn't join you.
No, I did not.
Okay. Just for a moment. Just for the moment.
Oh wow, yeah. Al wrote that for another artist that never was released. So the record, we always had that record.
Okay.
And Al, we put it together in the studio real quick. It was cool. That's all I can say
It was
about
just right. Then we had okay, sure thing was with Devante. You excite me.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that record. There were too many records on that album. I just don't remember that one as much. Yeah.
So the thing is that the album didn't do as good, especially in 1990. But I was so looking forward to "Sexy Verses," and that is actually probably my favorite I'll Be Sure album. And my favorite song was "Right Now."
Oh,
And it showcases his vocals, and it's just a nice vibe. Did you come up with how did that track come first? Was it the music first, or his lyrics, or did you both come together with that?
yeah, that was music first. I produced that track for another artist, another group. And when Al heard it, he said, "Oh my God, I love that music. I love that music." There was nothing I could do, it's on the other artist. And then when that artist, that group wasn't released, he said, "Give me that track." And he came and he blessed it and got it to number one record.
But then,
Yeah.
if it was only for another artist that they recorded, was the lyrics changed or what happened?
Yes, changed. He rewrote the song. Yes.
Okay.
Exact same music, but he took their vocals off, and he rewrote a whole nother song.
Okay. Yeah, I think as I said, people would be surprised how much of it that he was a lyricist. We would just, that part of him doesn't really get highlighted how much of a lyricist and an artist a producer he is.
Very talented songwriter. Yes.
Did you get involved with U.N.I.?
No, I did not.
Okay. And then he had Devante on Playing Games. Another big one was Natalie.
Yes. Okay. We wrote that song. It was supposed to be for Halle Berry's movie, and it was going to be for her character. I don't remember the name because they would change the name of of Natalie from something else. But yes, Al wrote that. Andre was going to put out his first movie, and we wrote that record to be in the Halle Berry movie.
Oh,
because that was her first feature. Strictly Business.
Strictly Business. Yeah.
Yes. And when we didn't make the deadline.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, that would have been great. Al kept on. He kept to change the name because we had to change the name, and that was that record. That was the Natalie. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Wow. For You Girl featuring Grand Puba Chub Rock. Were you involved in that?
I don't even remember that record.
Okay. Kick in the Head with Rakim.
No, I think that would have been Kevin, maybe. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Kevin.
Kevin Dean. Yeah.
Yes.
Then you had Turn You Out with Slick Rick.
Slick Rick. I don't remember that record. I don't know if that was one of
Oh,
my
that was
records.
Swing, Devante Swing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Then you did the See the Lady with Chub Rock.
Yes. Yes. Now, what did that record start? Wow. It started out as something else, and again, Al made it fun. And it was just supposed to be a fun record. It wasn't really an Albie Shaw record, but we demoed it, and they said, "Yeah, why not put it on?" But that was another fun record. Yes.
Yeah, and then okay, so we had okay, so Dean came in with Thanks for a Great Time Last Night. But you came back with I Don't Want to Cry.
Yes, I love that record. It looks like a movie to me. When you hear that record, it's a visual record. You can visualize what's going on in that record. It's an emotional record for Al at the time, and just being able to put our emotions on to wax at the time, wax. That was a personal record, and it came out pretty good.
Oh, so okay, so there was a meaning behind the song more than just the song.
Yes, there was. Yeah, just going through a little bit of heartbreak, like we
Okay.
always do in our 20s, and he was able to take that and put it on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So You Die For You?
Why do I remember that one? I
Brian
don't.
Lathrop. He had somebody, Breon. Is it Breon?
Oh, yeah. Brianne was on there.
Breon.
Yeah, she did the talk in the beginning. Yes, I remember that. I don't know if I did that one. I don't know if I
Yeah,
did that.
it had you. Yeah, it listed you as a
Oh,
producer. I mean, it is 30 years ago, so it's not, it's not like.
I
But
don't
you,
remember.
yeah.
Okay, yes. Die for
Uh,
you. Because I
I'll
remember
never.
Brianne being in the studio. Yes,
Okay,
but
I'll. Yeah. Maybe I'll never hurt you again.
oh yes. I love that one. I love that. Now that was the one. Oh, I thought that was the one that came from his heart. That record.
Oh,
Yeah, what I was saying about. I thought you was talking about the other record,
I
but
don't
that.
want to cry, wasn't it?
Oh no. Okay, right. I don't want to cry. I demoed for somebody else. He wrote it,
Oh,
and then he said, "No, let me." That didn't get released, so he said, "Let me do it." And I think that was
okay.
a single. Yeah, but I don't
Oh,
want to cry was the ballad that was beautiful. It was
okay.
a beautiful ballad and came from his heart, and a very visual record. Yes, I got the titles mixed up there. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, that Papers in the End with Greg to the Head and Slick Rick. But they said Howard T. That was more like a rap. It was more than them rapping.
Yes. It was. You know what? I thought it was real cool. He instead of reading the credits on the album, he made a record with the credits. I thought that was real slick. Um, he said thank you to everyone who helped him get to where he was, and instead of printing it, he did it in a record. I thought that was real
Oh.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a strange one. Now, when I told people that I was going to get you, there's a few questions that I just wanted to go through, because there's loads of people that are amazed. They said on Al's first album, a lot of engineering and mixing was done by Ronnie Shamar,
Yes, Roy Shamir.
Roshamir. Could you? What was it like working with him?
He was a young. We were obviously all young.
Yeah.
He was a new breed. Roy, and he was cocky and knew he was good at what he did. And he was already, he already mixed records from, because we were just starting out at that time, and he had a different sound and approach to engineering that was not hip yet. He started where he could mix a ballad, a pop ballad, but he could also do the hardest rap beats, you know. So and then he had tricks in his engineering, and his mixing, and him and Al together, they were able to really help create that sound. But Rowie was ahead of his time, no doubt.
Okay. Yeah. Is he still? Did he continue working with you guys, or is it just the first album?
Yeah, it was just the first album. You know, he helped us with some other stuff also. I think the Tevin Campbell stuff he helped record. But Rowie went on to do stuff like Run DMC, and he worked with a whole bunch of other artists. But he definitely helped us get our start with that sound for sure.
Okay. And another question is Valerie George.
Wow.
You got some real good fans who know your stuff. I don't.
Valerie was a songwriter that I met here in New York. She was from New Orleans, Louisiana, and incredible R&B songwriter. Okay. And we worked together when Andre moved over to Motown.
Okay, yeah, that 95, 97. Okay.
Yes, and Andre gave us a deal, and we put the album together, and you know the whole Motown thing just wasn't. It was coming down, and she got lost. All the artists at that time at Motown just kind of, you know, didn't get the attention they were supposed to get. But she was very, very talented songwriter, R&B songwriter. She was great to work with, easy to work with. She was so talented.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened to Billy Lawrence and the Michael Speaks track?
Wow.
So you got some fans.
Wow. Who would know that? Wow. Boy, that was incredible to do. Because Michael Speaks came from a whole nother space, you know, with gospel. And then, you know, Billy was so pop R&B. Having them together, oh my God, it was great. It didn't come out, you know, it didn't come out, but oh my, I think I still have that somewhere. I still listen to it, you know. Them coming together, and they clicked so well, you know, they clicked so well that it was beautiful.
So what happens when you make a record like that? Does the label say, we just don't see a market?
I'll say that again.
No, when you do a record like that, does the label say, yeah, we don't see a record, just a later market, we just shelve it?
No, you know what? It was interesting because the label, Michael Speaks I think he had a deal with, at the same label. So the label wanted this to happen. Yeah. I don't know why it didn't. I think it was the last record done. Okay. You know what? I'm sorry now. I gotta run.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my kids here, and
okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
We could finish. I can't do it. Oh my God.
No. What you could do? Don't rush it now. When you know, just when you have this time. And because the evenings are fine by me. So when you know you have a free, that's fine. Just let me know because there was a few more things. Yeah, so I appreciate it.